This video is disappointing to make. If you are injured or in an emergency or an accident and you need help, you probably won't get help in Japan. Here are some examples of people not getting help when they really need help in Japan. At a shopping center, Lumine. This is a very popular shopping chain in Japan. It's retail, it's clothes, it's food, restaurants, lots of stuff. I was passing maybe from the second to the third floor. I was going down the escalator and I could see a woman sprawled out on the floor, and there was a small crowd around her, maybe 4 or 5 people standing around her. She was passed out. Her color was white, her blood pressure was completely gone. She looked dead, basically, but people were just standing there and they were doing nothing. So no one was checking her breathing. No one was checking her heart rate to see if she was alive, to see if they could do anything. So I jumped in immediately because I have basic first aid training, CPR training. Dear Japan, many people in other countries, even if they're not doctors or nurses, even if they're not in the medical profession, they are required to get basic first aid training and help. So I jumped on the floor. I checked her pulse, I checked her breathing, checked her heart rate. I was making sure she was still alive. Maybe she swallowed her tongue and her breathing airway was blocked. You have to check this stuff. You can save a life this way. So I went on the ground. I made sure she was alive. I found her pulse, checked her brachial and carotid arteries, her brachial artery. And basically I instructed the people standing there to come on, do something. Come here, come here. So I told one woman to get on the ground and to touch this woman's hand, to start massaging her hand to see if she would have some sensation, start to come back from being unconscious to being awake. I told another man to raise her legs, try and keep her blood down into her main organs where they're most needed. And yeah, basically what happened was people were just standing there doing nothing, but obviously someone had called for the medics. That's what they do, is they don't do anything. They don't touch people. Japanese people don't touch people in emergencies. That's a given. And mostly they don't help at all. So this woman's lucky. It happened in a really crowded shopping mall and there was people standing there watching and doing nothing, but at least they called medical help. So a man said to me, "Are you a doctor?" Japanese man said this. I said, "No, no, I'm not. I'm just helping. I'm just a basic human helping like humans should help humans, right?" So she woke up. The woman woke up. She was in a mess. She was out of it. I don't know what happened to her. I didn't speak to her. She had wet herself. She had urinated her jeans. So she'd totally lost bodily control. Anyway, she was waking up, and that was basically all I could do. The medics were coming, so I left, right? Interesting. Another time, I was at a smallish station in a very big city. It was the middle of the day, so it wasn't very crowded. Outside the station gate, the exits, were some small shops, like maybe a cafe. There was a cake shop, like a small dessert cake shop. And I walked in, I hit the electric doors, the sliding doors open. I walk in, and there's an old man on the ground, face down. He's out. So I went to his head area, and I saw there was blood coming out of his head, and he was face down, like his nose was in the ground. He was doing that, hyperventilating, kind of bubbly, gurgling breathing. His breathing wasn't right. His airway was clogged with fluid, and he was just bleeding a ton. And there was no one there. This time there was nobody. The crazy part is the workers at the cake shop were still behind the counter. No one came around to attend to this guy. Now, I understand when I walked in the doors, he may have just hit the ground. This may have just happened. But there was blood pooled on the ground already. There was a fair amount of blood on the ground, which told me this was a little old, or it wasn't like brand new. This is a little bit old. So no one was coming around to help him from the cake shop. None of the workers. Probably 2 staff back there. No one did anything. Unbelievable. This is a Japanese man. He fell and he maybe he had a stroke. I'm not sure. He could have tripped, but I'm sure this fall made his life a whole lot worse after he hit his head. So this was really disappointing. So you want to be careful with injuries like this because you don't know if they have a spinal injury. So you don't want to move people a lot. But I held him. I moved his head, turned his head to the side a little bit so he wasn't face down trying to breathe into the floor. And he started to wake up as I held him. And he woke up and he looked at me in the eyes, and his eyes were just glazed over, and he was beyond shock. I mean, he was just out of it. But we made eye contact, and it was a human moment, and he wasn't alone, so that was good. And again, there wasn't a whole lot I could do, so I just held him and made sure the workers had called someone, and that was the end of that situation. I left. Another time, next accident. This was summertime. I was cycling in a suburban area, pretty crowded, on a busy street. It was a proper street with the yellow line in the center. It was a busy street with two-way traffic. It was a busy road with traffic signals. As I was cycling down the street, super hot summer day, maybe it was 35 this day, just crazy hot. Up ahead, I saw in the middle of the street a boy laid out on the ground. He was just laid out on the ground. He was awake, and he was screaming and writhing and moving on the ground, but he's laying on the ground in the middle of the road, and it's super hot. That road is like baking. It's burn level if you touch this with your skin, and this kid's in shorts and t-shirt, right? So I get closer, and I understand what happened. There was an accident. He was on a bicycle, and it looked like a scooter, and the scooter was not even there, and just parts of the scooter were broken off in the road. So it looks like the scooter just took off. The driver in the scooter just took off, fled the scene, and left this boy in the road. So luckily for this boy, it was right next to a drugstore. And again, up on the sidewalk was like 4 or 5 people at a distance. No one was helping this boy. No one was going near this boy. Nothing. No one was touching him. No one was talking to him, making him feel better about his situation. The boy was just panic-stricken, being burned on the road in the middle of the day. So, of course, I roll up, I jump off my bike, I go to the boy, I start tending to the boy, checking his injuries and stuff. He's awake, so obviously everything's okay. And obviously the people on the sidewalk who were scared to touch or do anything with this boy, obviously they had called the medics. So the situation was not dire, but it was shocking. It's like, why aren't you helping people? Japan, why don't you get on the ground, touch people, help people, reassure people, make people feel better in these situations? This does not happen in Japan. It's shocking, very disappointing. This winter, we went skiing, me and a friend went skiing in Prefecture. Coming down the mountain after the ski day was over, and this was the long line of cars going down, snaking down the mountain, getting down the hill. Everyone's going home. Great day. Wow, that was amazing. And this was a great day. It was sunny. The snow was big. It was fresh. It was awesome. The driver of my car fell asleep because they didn't have coffee, as if that's a reason to go ahead and have an accident. They drove our car straight off the ravine and down this hill, and we hit a tree. Seatbelts were on. This accident would have killed me. Here's the crazy thing. All the cars driving behind us did not stop. Nobody stopped to help us. Nobody. What? We could have been dead. I was down by the car for about 5 minutes. When it first happened and we smashed, I could smell an electric fire. So I screamed to the driver, "Get out of the car, get out of the car." And just like, And so we scrambled out of the car. The snow was a little bit deep, so you could barely walk down around the car. We were down there for like 5 or 10 minutes. No car stopped. You could even see the tracks of our car, fresh tracks, driving off the road from the road. Like, there's an accident. People literally saw our car disappear off this cliff. Nobody stopped. So here's what it took for somebody to finally stop. I was taking stuff out of the car because I thought it was going to catch on fire. So 10, 15 minutes later, after all the stuff was out of the car, I took a broken mirror and a bumper from the car that were totally broke off. I climbed up this snowy bank and stood on the road with the mirror in my hand and a bumper in my hand. And I made eye contact with car after car. Driver just continued straight ahead. Oh, we didn't see that. Like, it took 20 minutes. Finally, a car did stop. It was a group of boys, young college kids. And they were like, hey, is everything okay? But it took 20 minutes. We could have died. What is wrong with you, Japan? Where are the good Samaritans? Where are the volunteers in emergency situations? This is ridiculous. Oh, man. Another accident, a different time. This time it was night and I was walking on the street and the street was uneven where I was walking. So I rolled my ankle. I totally tweaked my ankle, went on the ground. It was terrible. I actually broke my foot. I later found out. But when I fell down, there was 3 people walking behind me. They were adults. It was 2 men and a woman. And as I was on the ground, they kept walking. They didn't offer help. But this was perhaps my worst experience. They were actually rude. The woman said, "Ora," like, see? Like, what were they talking about before they saw me fall down? Like, oh, these gaijin, they keep falling down all the time. See? Anyway, they didn't help. They didn't offer help. And the woman was actually rude. This was terrible. Next accident. This is me running. This is on a city park, in a big city park, but there's trails everywhere. Really nice running. I was running with dogs. Had 2 dogs in front of me. Everything was great. I hit maybe a tree root that was crossing this path and I couldn't see it, and I just face planted, right? I don't even think I got my arms up. This just threw me down so fast. So I was a wreck. The dogs I was running with escaped. They were panicked from the fall. They bolted. They took off. So, right next to where I fell was a bird watching wall with it's got these holes or these like rectangles cut out so people can stick their cameras in these holes and record the wildlife and stuff. And there was like 5 people standing there. And I fell right next to these people. And they heard it, and they saw the dogs run off, and maybe they didn't see me crash, but they definitely heard it, and they saw the dogs running off. They turned around and turned back to the wildlife and cameras, and nobody came to help. Nobody said a thing. Not one person offered to help. Not one person came over. Just, what's that? Oh. Total moonkanching. Japanese social indifference. Like, what is going on here? So I had to get up, and I was a wreck. I was a little bit cut up, torn up from falling on this path, and I had to run off and try and chase down these dogs. Oh man, it was a disaster. Another time, again, trail running. This time just by myself, and there was an old man walking on the path, and it was a little bit narrow spot where this path was. So being nice, I let him take the flat part, and I ran up on the side where it started to bank at a slant, and I tried to run on that side bank to pass this guy, and I ate it. I biffed it hard. Again, just crashed, and I was in front of him. So he saw me fall down. He obviously heard everything, and nothing, not a thing. And this was just me and one person on this trail, just 2 people. So the responsibility was obviously his to help out. He's the only person there. He did nothing. Like, I did not even exist. Completely invisible. He just kept walking. He didn't even slow down. Just nothing. Like, what is going on here? So, again, record's not very good so far. Oh, it gets worse. So I've had 3 bicycle accidents in Japan. Accident 1. This was out by the coast, out on the ocean. In fairness, I was traveling into the sun. The sun was directly in my eyes, so it's also directly in the driver's eyes that are in the same lane as me. So a person in a van just comes up and just straight up T-bars me from behind. And I went on the side of the van, and I was like smashing into it and hitting the window and stuff as it kept going. Person never stopped. They just drove off, and I crashed. After I cleared the side of the car and the back of the car, I fell down because I was totally off balance from smashing into the side of this van as it was hitting me. And I was it. I was down and on the ground, and the driver was nowhere to be seen. They just kept going. This was technically a hit and run. 5 minutes later, I was still on the ground and kind of checking myself and my legs, make sure nothing was broken. They finally came back. So, now that took maybe 5-7 minutes, and the driver finally came back because the road ahead was actually blocked. This coastal road is really slow and there's lots of traffic, so they were blocked. They couldn't just drive off and escape. So, beach run, the day at the beach. Love running by the beach. This day I was running along and there was a couple walking ahead of me, and they had shifted their position in the path pretty much last second, so they basically caused my accident. And what they did was they were walking around a little sandbank or a sand drift that had grown across the path, and so I went left, they went right. I went into the sand drift and I tripped, fell down, scraped my knees. They were right next to me. They didn't do a thing. They didn't say anything. They looked, but they didn't say anything. They didn't say sorry, nothing, and they just walked off. So, yeah, welcome to Japan. So, in a lot of these cases, and this case, I screamed at the people. I told them they are not kind, they're terrible, moonkanshing, you're socially indifferent, selfish. I did that with the old man on the trail. I did that with the Birdwatchers on the trail. So I'm not just letting these people off the hook. I'm letting them know, hey, you need to actually help people and be kind. You need to be polite. You need to live up to your reputation as Japan is so polite, because they're actually kind of not. So now you're probably thinking, wow, this guy's got a lot of accidents and a lot of issues. Well, not really. So for a long time, when this stuff first happened and I would see that Japanese aren't helping me or they're not helping strangers, I didn't say anything. I would just be like, wow, that was weird. I can't believe it. It happened again. Japanese aren't helping other people in need. So I only started responding more recently because it keeps happening. And I want to teach Japanese people, hey, you actually need to help other humans. You need to be compassionate, right? So, of course, this is not Japanese people's responsibility. People can do anything they want. They don't need to help you. They don't need to say anything. They don't need to touch you if you're on the ground. They don't need to check your vital signs. They can do whatever they want until they're injured. And then you can ask them, what would you want someone else to do for you if you were injured, right? So then it comes back to bite them in the butt. Karma, right? Everything that goes around comes around. So they probably would want people to check if they're breathing, or to say, are you okay? And just check. Simple check, right? So that's where it comes back to bite people here in Japan. So separately, of course, these are small kind of incidences. And if it just happens once or twice, you're like, wow, that's weird. Nobody did anything. But these emergency situations are a lot like my being attacked on trains. I've been attacked many times, 5 times on trains for doing nothing, just sitting there. So I made a series about that, about those attacks, and you can watch them here. I'm still working on those. But same idea with these emergencies, right? If it just happened once or twice, you're just kind of like, wow, that was weird. Someone just punched me. Someone just elbowed me, right? But it keeps happening. With these emergencies, people not volunteering, not helping, not doing anything, just ignoring stuff, and with train attacks, people, they keep happening. So these are patterns. This is validity. This is a problem with Japanese culture, these attacks and people not helping during emergency or accident situations. That's the difference between tourists. You're basically, I would consider you a tourist in Japan if you're here for a week, a month, even a year. A year is not enough time to understand Japanese culture. So you need to live in Japan long term and to start putting together these patterns of behavior before you truly understand Japanese culture. So be careful to pass judgment. All the tourist videos you see, oh, Japan's so polite, it's so safe. It's not safe. Japan attacks people all the time. Gaijin and chikan, Japanese females, all the time. These emergency situations, they are not safe. This is Japan not being safe and not being polite. People don't help, don't even acknowledge accidents. Just keep going. Didn't see that. If you have an accident or you're in an emergency, it doesn't matter if you're a Gaijin, a foreigner, or if you're Japanese, you probably will not get help. No one will touch you. Nobody. If you're in a car that's on fire, no one's going to come running in to try and pull you out. You're going to burn alive and you're going to die. So that's a given. No one's going to touch you. And second of all, basically, no one's even going to come close to you or try and talk to you. I don't know the percentages on that, but you're probably out of luck there too, based on my experiences. Last, you will get assistance in the form of people will call an ambulance for you. They'll call emergency services. So you will get this help unless you're at the cake shop and the workers are working there and they're ignoring this old man who's bleeding face down on the ground and he can barely breathe. So in that case, you will get nothing. You won't get any help. So here's some things that explain this phenomenon. And so this is an area of psychology, social psychology. So in social psychology, this is called bystander apathy. Apathy is don't want to do anything, don't want to help. Bystander is someone who's there watching, right? So the theory of bystander apathy is if you're in a crowd, you're actually less likely to get help because of diffusion of responsibility. People think someone else is going to do something. Someone else is going to step in and help, so I'm just going to keep standing here and watching. So a lot of this is happening in Japan, but sadly not. It's also when there is clear responsibility, like the driver that saw us drive off the road in the ski accident. That's clearly their responsibility. They saw us. They should stop and help. The one man on the running trail who saw me. We're the only two people. He did nothing, kept walking. I was invisible, did not exist. That's clear responsibility, right? So sadly, this social psychology theory, bystander apathy, does not apply in Japan. It doesn't matter if there's a crowd or if it's one person. You're not going to get help. No one's going to touch you. No one's going to check your breathing, check if your heart's still moving. Nobody. Maybe they'll call. Maybe. Good luck with that. It's just sad. This video is pretty disappointing to make, but it's really important. You need to understand Japanese society, and this is Japanese society, basically at its worst. So that's not saying Japanese people are evil people. They're good people. All humans are innately good people. Humans want to help humans. The thing with Japanese culture is they probably do want to help. They're not robots. They're not indifferent, uncaring, inhuman. They do want to help, and they do. But the help is not enough to help people who are really in need. And it's just not polite or courteous. Mostly, they don't even say anything. They don't do anything. They don't say anything. That's not polite. Dear Johnny Tourist, real Japan is not polite. They're very selfish. That's Japanese culture. So if they notice an accident and if they've stopped, they probably want to help, but they don't know what to do. So here's some reasons why they might want to help, but they still don't do anything. Munkanshin. This is social indifference. This means basically you probably either won't get help at all because people see there's an accident and they just blow by it. They don't care. They're in their own bubble. They're just indifferent to the world outside them. That's why people in Japan don't make eye contact. They don't pay attention to anybody outside themselves. So you can be in a crowd of millions and totally feel alone unless it's a sports event. Sports event, they're nuts. But in normal life, walking out and about, people don't care about each other here. That's just the way it goes. It's called munkanshin. Being in your own bubble, your own world, and ignoring people, even during emergencies. Cultural apathy. So munkanshin helps explain cultural apathy. There is generally just a laziness socially. That's true. And also, does not compute. Novel situations or new situations in Japan, they do not compute. Error, malfunction, emergency situations, people don't know what to do. It does not compute. It does not make sense. Japanese culture is very linear. It teaches people how to respond in predictable events only. Novel and mysterious and ambiguous situations, Japanese people don't know what to do. Does not compute, right? That's why the innateness, the humanness in them may stop. Some of them don't stop at all, but some of them stop because they feel an urge to want to do something, but they don't know what to do because Japanese culture is so strict and rules-based that it never taught them about ambiguous or emergency situations. So you're screwed. That's the tough part about this, about Japanese culture, is this is one of those things where they just don't know what to do. And they really need to know what to do. They really need to step in and physically help people and talk to people. Get on the ground with people. Check. Are you okay? Talk to people. Something. Anything. Do something. So what's really interesting is I had a private student. He was a doctor, an orthopedic doctor with his own clinic. He told me medical doctors in Japan don't receive first aid training. Even doctors in Japan don't know what to do in these novel or emergency accident injury situations, right? Maybe if it's an ER doctor and you're lucky enough to have an ER doctor who's lucky enough to break Japan's social rules about talking to strangers, looking at strangers, helping strangers, in that case, you might get the right help. You got an ER doctor who saw you take a face plant, saw you crash your car, saw you got hit on your bike. They might step in and help. Consider yourself lucky. Other doctors do not have first aid training. They don't know rescue breathing. They don't know cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Defibrillators, they probably don't know how to pull that off the wall and attach the electrodes and read the instruction. Can you imagine a Japanese person trying to operate a defibrillator to get someone's heart going again? Like, they won't even touch the box, right? So, your chances are slim to none to get help in Japan. So I'm kind of not sure why these defibrillator boxes are even available in social places like shopping centers and train stations, because people don't even want to help anyway, let alone knowing how to open this thing up, attach it, and fire it off to start someone's heart up. Like, it's asking a lot of Japanese culture. So doctors aren't trained with first aid, and everything, all of this social apathy, munkanshin, does not compute, new emergency situation. We weren't taught any of this in our culture, society. All of this bad stuff is reinforced by social harmony. This is Japan following Japan. Japanese people doing only what other Japanese people do. So obviously, emergency situations, they're going to follow each other. And if the whole country doesn't know what to do, does not compute, they're going to just kind of stand there or they'll do nothing. They'll totally ignore your situation. So in other countries, there's actually good Samaritan laws where if you don't help, you can get in trouble. If you don't help, there can be a lawsuit against you because you did not help. So Good Samaritan laws are basically the bystander apathy to address this social psychology phenomenon. Good Samaritan laws basically say, if you're the only person that can help and you see someone that needs help, you must help that person in an emergency. You must help them, or you can have legal problems. People can sue you because you didn't help. Many countries, many places have these laws. Japan would never do this because, of course, Japan doesn't help strangers. I mean, Japanese people don't even talk to strangers. They don't say hello. They don't look at each other. So, can you imagine a Good Samaritan law in Japan? They would never consider this in Japan. Never. So, end thoughts. Be safe in Japan. Hope that you're not in an accident and you're not attacked by some person on a train like I've been attacked 5 times for doing nothing on trains. Maybe I could have had an injury and no one's going to help you. No one will help you. My attacks, also, by the way, nobody helped me. So, be careful in Japan. You're not going to get help. You just will not. This is the Japanese culture. Japanese people are good people. They have a human desire to want to help. The problem is Japanese society and culture blocks that human urge. So be safe in Japan.